For Good Food Revolution. We are in the kitchen with our old friend Kristin Donovan at Hooked in Leslieville. How are you today, Kristin?
I'm wonderful, Jamie. How are you?
I am fantastic. Now, what are we going to be doing today?
I'm going to show you how to fillet a halibut.
So that anybody could do this at home if they have a whole massive halibut.
Definitely.
Fantastic. Now, what are we looking at here? This looks like quite a big beast.
Yeah, that's actually considered a very, very small halibut.
Okay, and what kind of age would a halibut about this size be?
Probably 2 or 3 years.
2 or 3 years, okay. How big does a halibut go up to?
Up to 800 pounds.
800 pounds, but I guess those wouldn't be too tasty as they're older, right?
No, it's not that. They still get fished. We tend to prefer to get the smaller size, so we get a 10 to 20 pound count on our halibut because of a whole lot of things. Mercury content is much lower in a younger fish and a smaller fish because it's been eating less time and eating less bigger fish. And also the ones that are kind of the best breeders are a little bit older usually than 2 or 3 years. So we tend to get the younger ones that have less mercury and hopefully creating kind of less environmental impact.
And where do these halibut that you have right now come from?
This is coming from Tofino. We're getting it from a cooperative called Trilogy. My husband is texting me with the name of the boat and the fisher as I cut this. But they're amazing. So it's a collection of 3 to 5 different boats. These guys are bottom longline fishermen. So longline typically is bad when you consider pelagic longline that lives on the top of the line lives on top of the water and it's very indiscriminate about what it catches. Whereas a bottom longline really targets 3 different kinds of fish in Maguay and in BC. So you're looking at sablefish, lingcod, and halibut.
So no bycatch?
The only bycatch is Pacific octopus, and we buy that, we use it, and there's actually a decent quota for that. The nice thing about Pacific octopus is, though it's hyper intelligent, they say they have the intelligence of a 7-year-old. They are prolific in their reproduction, and they only live a few years.
Right.
So as in terms of bycatch, it's not terrible.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, how many pieces of halibut do you end up chopping this big fellow into?
Well, a halibut's different from a round fish because it's actually a flat fish. So it has 4 fleshes or fillets. So this will go into, this is one side, this is the top side. So the halibut head comes to us off to save on freight.
Right.
This is how they come to us processed, so gutted and headed. And we usually get these guys probably 24 to 36 hours out of water. So these are bottom dwellers. So it lies on the bottom of the ocean and swims like this.
Just like that.
Its eyes, like a turbot, both live right here, and its mouth is over here. It started its life like this, with eyes on each side, and then from a fry, as it got older, it gradually moves from swimming like this to lying down swimming, and then its eyes migrate. So there's one fillet here, and then you flip it.
It's not so easy.
One here and one here.
All right, I see.
Okay, I'm gonna start filleting this beast.
Excellent.
So we all have our different methods here at the shop. I actually always start with the belly. So you can see one side is white, one side is dark. The belly is the bottom side. I always start with this side. The fletches I find are a little bit thinner, and having the big fletches on the bottom helps to kind of ground when I'm cutting it.
Right.
And then I turn it over one side.
Superb.
Yeah, so I'll just show you. So I cut along, basically what you do when you're filleting a fish is you trace the lines with your knife before you make the really big cuts. So you're gonna cut along the tail here. You're gonna cut, I cut just above the fin here. All the way along. Okay. And then this is also known as the collar right here, and then the fin here. So I usually cut, you want to cut as close as you can to the bone. We pay for every part of this fish. So we try to respect not only the fish, but also the yield. So we actually, our staff who work here, it becomes a bit of a competition and a challenge. We yield our fish. So you weigh the whole fish often, and then weigh the whole fish, and then you weigh the bone weight that you can still use. You scrape all the bones before you put them away for stock. And then we weigh the usable scrape, and then we weigh the scrap, and basically, or the waste. And then from that you get your yield.
So there's a bit of a competition between the different staff here to see how high yield they can get from that.
Yeah.
I see.
I'm winning. Anyway, so along here it's cut here, and now you see this handy dandy little line? Great. So I'm going to show you. You basically just cut straight along it, okay? And that way I have one fletch here and one fletch here. And now I'm going to make sure you can kind of see. You can get the camera in. I'm now just kind of cutting it off the spine there. You can actually take it off in one solid piece, but I'm not going to do that right now because we wouldn't normally do that in the store. Okay, and now at this stage I'm going to cut. There are a couple of different ways to do halibut, but this is the way that we found you get the best yield. So coming in this way, you just have to be a little bit careful because the rib bones actually start to protrude, and if you get on the wrong side of them, then you're cutting into the below fletch. It's important to have a sharp knife, but often actually we find having too sharp a knife can be a problem.
Right.
Because you actually go through the bones without realizing it, whereas if your knife has a tiny bit, not dull at all, but a tiny, like if it's just as long as it's not razor sharp, you can successfully cut the...
Did you learn how to do this when you were at school?
No.
Oh, when did you learn to do this?
Well, it's usually on the kind of on the job training. I mean, I didn't do different restaurants. You do fishing for sure. Doing a halibut. I'm trying to think of the first time I did a halibut. I don't even know. And it's funny because I hadn't done one in ages when we opened the store. And really, it's been a lot of practice. It's been a lot of fun. I never mind filleting fish, but now halibut you don't tend to learn in school. You might do round fish, but halibut you don't tend to. Although I have to say, George Brown lately, they've been buying. We try to get little halibut from PEI from this great farm there, and they actually tend to buy for their classes so that their students are getting the experience of doing a flat fish, because most restaurants won't let a new cook at this.
I understand why.
So if you look now, the fletch is pretty much off. I just have to get through, there's a little line of bones right there. I just have to get through there to release this and get it off. There we go.
Look at that.
So that's fletch number one. So then you do the other side. You just do the same thing. So you turn it around, and then you're gonna draw your lines here as well. So this is actually a good shot of the skeleton. So this is what we call the collar. So the head is here, the gills would have been in here. This is the belly cavity, and then this is the spine, and then here are the ribs. The ribs go out this way.
Right, so you've done the other side, and now we're going to do the other side.
Okay, so this one's already cut here, and the reason is the fishers will actually cut here and just check the quality on the flesh to make sure it's not chalky. If it's kind of white and mealy, it's an unsaleable fish.
So what's your favorite way to prepare halibut?
Favorite way? Grilled is nice. Papillote works really well. And actually slow baked, doing it at a very low temperature, 190 or 200 degrees. It's beautiful. It kind of renders all the fat. It ends up being a really buttery texture. I really like halibut. My difficulty with halibut is that there's not a lot of room for error. So when you overcook it, it's very unpleasant. And yeah, it's not very forgiving fish, but when it's cooked perfectly, it is magical. It's also really nice in sashimi. It's nice in ceviche. All right, that's it.
Now, that's a big skeleton you have there. So this will be scraped, and then the rest of it used for stock.
Exactly. And so what we do for stock is I go along and just basically cut all these little pockets.
Yeah.
Because that releases the gelatin in the spine, and you get a stock with much more body.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, Kristin Donovan, thank you very much for joining us in the kitchen at Hooked in Leslieville today.
Thank you for having me.
Speak to you soon. Bye for now.
Bye.